Alyssa, this is Chris at Fox 5. Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Can you say your last name for me so I can make sure we're saying it right?
D'Souza.
D'Souza, thank you. And is there a space between D, E, and S?
There is.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, we'll come to you in just a couple minutes.
Sounds good.
Thank you. 9 o'clock on this Friday night. Tony P, TGIF, Friday night.
You made it, my friend. Oh, I shook the screen.
I know,
sorry.
you did shake everything a little bit.
Sorry.
Bless.
Man, sorry. I'm in the words of this.
Your close-up camera, if you would like to. If
Mr.
you've got
DeMille.
any more in there.
I gotta tell you, I mean, that was like just a thunderstruck. I mean, I think we needed AC/DC there. Where I was going, this and there's like thunder,
I know, right?
boom.
If only we had the rights to it,
I
or if
know.
I had put it into the system a
But
little
again,
earlier.
we didn't know that I was going to get literally.
We had no idea
You know what,
that
like-
was going to happen. This is the Live Zone
This is-
Prime Time. I'm producer
we're
Chris.
crazy.
That is Tony P. Thank you so much
hello,
for joining
everybody.
us on this Friday evening, whether you're watching on Fox 5 DC's YouTube page or if you're watching on Fox Local streaming us right now. Tony P, this show all about what's live and what's happening. And right now, weather is one of the
Yes,
big stories
very much
happening across the Midwest. What was it like on your way in here?
So today, I mean, yesterday was a little bit more rainy. I think today was, I mean, temperatures were pretty decent. The skies changed a little bit throughout the day. Around 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, they got you could see the sunshine peeking through a little bit, but mostly a hazy, cloudy day overall. I think temperature-wise, we're in the mid-50s.
So
solid
pretty nice
weather.
out there.
But then hearing, of course, what's happening in Michigan right now. I know there's multiple tornadoes that have been witnessed.
Yeah, let's get to some
witnessed
video
and
of
seen
that
it.
right now.
Absolutely awful.
This is video that we just got in of some of that severe weather in the Midwest. Fox News is reporting that 3 people died and more injured after this suspected tornado touched down in Michigan. Not necessarily this one exactly. They're reporting 12 injured after a tornado, but also we're seeing some severe weather all across the Midwest. Luckily, nothing like that here at home. We're
Yes.
hoping for some warmer temperatures this weekend, but this is one of those sure signs of spring, though, Tony P, when we start talking about severe weather across the country.
Absolutely. Again, when we're looking at, again, like, we had, hurricane season, of course, is mostly in the fall, but when you look at this type of weather, it's very, very, it's very rare to see it in kind of the Midwest parts, like Michigan. You don't see a lot of tornadoes there. It's usually in Oklahoma, some of the plain states, a little bit more down
Well, right
south.
now, what we're looking
Now
at,
we're seeing
it
it.
just looks dark, but you see those
Oklahoma
flashes of
too.
lightning
Exactly.
in Tulsa, Oklahoma. These live
It's hitting
pictures
everything.
coming to us from KOKI. Let's get back to that video,
Just
though.
look at this.
In
This is
Michigan,
scary.
you see this coming to us from the AP.
Look at how close. Look at how close they are to the
That
glass.
debris
And the glass
everywhere.
is getting ready to crack. We just pray for, of course, the families of the loved ones who were lost, of course.
No question
and
about
we,
that.
And we just pray for
Mike
everybody's
Thomas
safety.
will have much more on the forecast coming up tonight. Fox 5 News at 10 and 11 right here on Fox Local. And like I said, not expecting any of that severe weather.
No,
around
I mean,
here
a little bit of rain
at
maybe
all.
throughout the weekend, but across the East Coast it looks pretty dry.
But you know what else is this weekend?
What is this weekend?
Daylight saving time. Those clocks are
is.
going to spring ahead
Oh,
Sunday night. Just a
God.
reminder. If that's your thing, if you hate it, whether you love it, just a heads up.
So we
it's
lose an hour?
happening.
Do we lose or we
do. We lose an hour, but we gain daylight.
That's true.
So that's the big thing.
At some point I'll be walking in here and it'll be light out.
I know.
It'll be
gonna
nice.
Nuts. It's
So
gonna
you
be
know
nuts.
what? That might be a worthy sacrifice to make. I think the issue is we like when we gain the hour in the fall, but in reality, I think that seasonal depression is real. I think it's a better
question.
trade-off
People
to
are gonna
have
be
the clocks in their normal position.
Especially
However,
after the
yeah.
long, cold, snowy winter.
Right.
that we
But there
had
are issues
here
with different
in the DMV.
logistical stuff. So I understand the need for it. They tried to pass it a couple of times to keep it.
Tony's going politics on daylight saving
No,
time.
no,
That's
listen,
what he does.
That is a I
Tony
think.
P, let's bring
Yes,
things
yes,
back
yes,
home
yes,
now,
yes,
okay?
yes.
And we're talking the big story here tonight happening right now. New youth curfew zones in effect in Navy Yard and the U Street corridor. You see the maps right there. DC police tell Fox 5 Sydney Persing that these curfew zones are being implemented based on social media activity, promoting youth gatherings in these areas this weekend. Now, we know MPD for many months now has been making an effort to stop large gatherings of teenagers in the district, especially in the Navy Yard area and that U Street corridor, like we said. Our viewers will remember we saw some major gatherings of these youths over the summer, ended in multiple arrests. This is some of the video that you may remember seeing on social media. So in an effort to curb these gatherings, last year the district passed a law that put a curfew in effect citywide and also gave the chief of police the authority to then establish these extended curfew zones on top of the citywide curfew. So these extended curfews go in effect at 8 o'clock. They go through 11 p.m. Then at 11 p.m. the citywide curfew kicks in, and that goes until 6 a.m. The last additional curfew zones we saw were back in November. These latest curfew zones will be in effect, like I said, from 8 to 11 p.m. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, meaning people under the age of 18 can't gather in groups of 9 or more, with just a few exceptions during that period. That's then on top of the citywide curfew, like I said, which is in effect for all juveniles from 11 p.m. to 6 a.m. The curfews have mixed support. Many business owners support them, saying groups of youths have hit their businesses hard. Critics argue that curfews don't solve the root issue of why these kids are out late in the first place, and that they do not give them proper support. It's not clear yet if the curfew zones will extend past this weekend. Right now they're in effect for this weekend, but we don't know if they will be in effect beyond that, Tony P.
I think it was interesting, and this was brought up, I think, over the summer when there were, of course, these gatherings, and you saw a large increase in the last few years of juvenile crime, especially things like carjackings and theft, those type of things that really were hurting quality of life, and of course it's sometimes violent. I think what's interesting is it's an innovative approach. I, for one, think it's important, of course, to have these boundaries put up, especially in certain areas of the city and district where families are gathering. You don't want to have a lot of young kids running around unsupervised, right? The thing that it harkens back to is, where is the funding for youth outreach programs? That's one thing. Right. It has to be an and, because if you're going to get to the root causes of problems, we're seeing across many cities, including Boston, they're investing in recreation programs, youth mentorship, community intervention with mentors and things of that nature, after school programming. You have to have that on a more institutional level if you want to really break up this, not wave of crime, but instances of crime where you're seeing large gatherings of kids who are unsupervised. But again, I think it's important as a first step, but at some point it can't all just be punishment. You have to have resources behind it as well to make sure
I think that's what some of the critics, exactly. All right, so for more on the curfews, Navy Yard resident and neighborhood advocate Alyssa D'Souza joins us now live. Alyssa, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Primetime.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So do you support these curfews?
I think the curfews are great. I just found it interesting this time around that it's so early in March. It's usually in the summer when the weather is getting warmer, and while the weekend will be a little warmer, it's still rainy out there. I think the curfews are great, and they help small businesses and local restaurants here. Everyone wants to just come together and feel like they're safe walking home, going to dinner, and enjoying the neighborhood. So I think it's great. One concern I just found interesting was announcing the curfew today publicly. I was walking outside about 6 o'clock, walking the dog, and I felt like it had the opposite effect. And it almost encouraged those juveniles to break the curfew and come outside, and saying, like, don't do it. And it pushes some of them to do it anyways, just because, social media got involved and they all want to gather and see what this is about.
In your experience with other curfews in Navy Yard, have you seen there be a marketable drop in the amount of juveniles that are getting together, or potentially having interactions with the public? Do you see that the drop in that, or have you seen before teenagers kind of pushing the boundary and trying to stay out late?
I think with the presence with the National Guard there, it has definitely decreased what could have been, horrible situations and increased crime and breaking into restaurants and things. But I think the bigger issue is the supervision. And like you were saying earlier, the engagement with youth. These kids need to have structured activities and consistent supervision. And enforcement alone won't solve that problem.
Right.
Yeah, so that was going to be kind of into my next question. Do you think that police and city leaders actually need to do more to kind of provide other opportunities for some of these younger people so that they're not just gathering and getting into trouble?
Yeah, I think it's about having a shared responsibility, not just city leaders, it's parents, city officials and residents just working together to solve these issues and come together.
Do you think the police department and DC government generally has done a good or decent job engaging with organizations like yours, neighborhood watch groups, community organizing? Have they done a decent job in terms of working with you on projects and getting your input? Or is it still very much they're taking control and it's up to the community organizations to kind of follow the lead?
I think it's up to the community organizations to follow the lead. I think, view is out there, but at the end of the day, they make the bigger decisions on what they want to do. MPD's presence out there, it does help kids. I see the kids out there engaging with the National Guard, engaging with MPD. There's Metro Transit Police out there, and there's about 20 guards that are on, both of the metro stops that have just now opened up here in Navy Yard. So I think it's good to have that in presence and engage with kids in the community. And it's helping, and with the curfew, it's helping, but at the end of the day, there still needs to be different kind of consistent supervision, starting with their parents and activities out there like we've seen in Boston.
So you mentioned that you were a little surprised that this happened so early. I know, like you said, we generally see them not only in just warmer weather, but the summer months when kids aren't in school, baseball season in full swing. Do you think that eventually this is going to be the sort of thing that's going to be permanent and not just implemented on a case-by-case basis?
I mean, permanent, you could say anything you want, but at the end of the day, there's still going to be those kids coming out there, whether there's something permanent or not. There's all types of laws that are permanent, and they're always still being broken. So I think there just needs to be something different out there that's more a harsher punishment for when you do have these kids that are breaking the laws. I just feel like it's just a slap on the wrist and take them home. And when they're home, they're sit in their room for 5 minutes and they're just released back out, and you have the same groups gathering over and over again.
So I have a couple of questions, and like the first one's going to be more logistical. My second one will be more about the root causes thing that we've been talking about. When it comes to logistics, when there's curfews like this with a certain radius and area, how is it communicated to individuals who are outside or to juveniles who may be walking home from something? Is there a clear presence of where that boundary is? Are there announcements, or how does that work logistically? Or is it just kind of basically, hey, here's a map, take a look at it, and you find out for yourself?
Yeah, this morning when I was walking, I didn't see any signs or anything, so I wouldn't have known anything about it. And then I saw it on my way home from social media, and then I did see the signs posted outside. But
okay.
Were the kids looking at that signs? Do they notice that? I don't think so. As a kid, I wasn't looking at the signs posted on the poles. So
yeah, neither was I. When looking at the root causes that we've discussed, what are some of the things, based on your experience, that you've seen in the community that could be helpful in Navy Yard, U Street, and across the district that could help on a consistent basis, where we may not need these type of curfews in the future?
There was holiday events. Like there was at the 1D station here, there was specifically for Halloween where they had a haunted house, and all the kids gathered there. It was a safe space, and they were having a great time, and they were monitored, by MPD, and some of the parents were there even engaging in the community, and it just brought everyone together. Although it was a large crowd and, they were screaming and yelling, it just felt much safer than gathering out in this local open field area. I don't know why it's always Navy Yard or U Street. I mean, there's plenty of other places, Petworth and Shaw, that have restaurants out there. I don't know what attracts them to this area.
All right, Alyssa D'Souza, thank you so much for spending some time with us here on the Live Zone Primetime and weighing in on this topic that I know affects a lot of people, not only who live but work down in Navy Yard as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. In the meantime, we're going to take you live to Miami, Florida. That is where Air Force One has arrived. President Trump spending the weekend in Mar-a-Lago, Tony P.
Yes, and also I think he's going to be announcing at Doral, his golf course in Miami, he'll be announcing the new position that former Secretary Kristi Noem has taken. It's the Defender of the Shield of North America. Let me make sure I have the name right. But I think it's a Northern Hemisphere defense organization, like a defensive shield organization. I think that's what it is, but they'll be announcing that tomorrow at a press conference in Doral, which is President Trump's resort. He does have a resort in Palm Beach, of course, Mar-a-Lago, his golf course is there, but this is unusual. He's going to Miami as opposed to going to Palm Beach. And this is where I think the announcement will be made tomorrow. Former Secretary Noem will take over in this new administrator role for this new security operation position for the Western Hemisphere.
All right, well, we're going to leave this.
I got to find the right title for that. I got to find it.
We're going to leave this live picture up for everyone watching on YouTube. We'll see the president in just a few minutes. In the meantime, we're going to take a quick break for everyone watching on Fox Local. When we come back, though, we're going to talk. There's the president, actually.
Yep.
As we speak, making his way down the stairs. We'll leave this live picture up When we come back, though, we are going to talk a little baseball. Because ready or not, baseball is back. The World Baseball Classic
Yes,
happening
finally.
right now. This is a big one. We're
Sure
going to
is.
talk about Team USA playing right now.
Oh, they are. That's right, they are.
We'll talk about it. We'll be right back. Test 1, 2, David, it's Chris. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Excellent. All right, you're coming up in about a minute 30.
Okay.
Awesome. Thank you.
The 2-1 now. Ohtani lights it up. It is gone. Ohtani, of course. And the Tokyo Dome is on fire.
Yeah, I mean,
What can't he do?
What a way
It's like-
to kick things off. The Olympics are over, Tony P. The World Cup doesn't get underway for a few more months, but in the meantime, we have the World Baseball Classic, and the international tournament got started with
On our network, too.
bang, as you saw right there. National League MVP Shohei Ohtani hitting a grand slam in Japan's 13-0 win. The reigning champions winning in front of a home crowd in the Tokyo Dome. Team USA, like you said, playing right now over on Fox 5. I need to do a score check. Well, actually, you know what?
We got it right up here.
I will let our
3-1 on
friend
Brazil.
David Betancourt weigh in on this one. More on the tournament, how it works, the favorites, and more of the athletics. David Betancourt joining us now live. David, I'm sorry to interrupt because I know you're having a watch party as we speak, but as we can see from what
wow.
you're wearing, Team USA not exactly who you're rooting for necessarily.
That is correct. Since the World Baseball Classic's inception in 2006, this is now 20 years of the World Baseball Classic, the 6th World Baseball Classic. I've always rooted for Puerto Rico. I'm half Puerto Rican, father's Puerto Rican, grandparents born on the island. As you know, Chris, that place means a lot to me. Huge baseball fan, and a huge part of my fandom of baseball is the fact that Puerto Rico has produced so many incredible players. So yeah, I'm rooting for Puerto Rico, and we won today, 5-0.
That was going to be my next question. Congratulations, a hot start.
And
hot start.
I'll tell you, I could not agree more with every sentiment you just said about
And like
all
Tony
of that.
said, Team USA on a hot start. I know Aaron Judge kicked things off with a 2-run home run.
He did. Team USA is up 3-1, and they have a stacked team. They are one of the heavy favorites. The favorites this year are Japan, who of course won it last year, the United States, who might have their most stacked team ever, and the Dominican Republic, who's actually having a tough time right now with Nicaragua. Although I hear a lot of screaming downstairs, so I think the Dominican just went up.
Okay. Oh wait,
The party's always determined.
Yeah. Okay.
what's
So
going
you
on.
mentioned that stacked team for Team USA. Talk to us about who's on it.
Oh man, Aaron Judge, Paul Skeens, so many great players. You know, in the initial inception of the World Baseball Classic, the very first tournament took place in 2006, and there was a great All-Star team in 2006, but a lot of it was veteran players towards the end of their careers. And then, you know, in previous iterations of the Classic, you had situations where maybe the U.S. wasn't bringing the best players. You also have situations where sometimes the owners of the baseball teams don't want their best players participating in what is essentially exhibition baseball, where the players aren't getting paid and there are chances for injury. That's actually something that's afflicted the Puerto Rican team, with many players not being able to play because they couldn't be covered for insurance. But the United States is fielding a very stacked team. They should have an easy time with Brazil tonight.
When you look at the history since 2006 of this event, what was the impetus for the formation of the World Baseball Classic? Like, what is the structure of it for people who may not know what it is? Like, what does that structure look like? Where does the impetus for it come from? And what are some of the dynamics at play in a tournament like this?
You know, when you think of baseball, you think of it being America's pastime, but it really is an international game. And what the World Baseball Classic is, from its inception in 2006, it's essentially the World Cup of baseball. So you take all that excitement of the World Cup, of nations being able to, players being able to represent their nations, not just their professional teams in MLB, but the nations where they were born. And it's a very big deal. It's a tournament that from the beginning has been huge in Latin America. I attended the World Baseball Classic in 2009 in San Juan. It remains the greatest baseball experience of my life in terms of seeing a game in person. Latin America and Asia have always taken this tournament very seriously. Japan is a 3-time champion of the WBC. They also happen to have the best player in the world, a superhuman by the name of Shohei Ohtani. But yeah, this is a tournament that the root of it was about creating a World Cup for baseball. And now 20 years later, we're at a point where, especially don't forget how the last WBC ended in 2023. You had Japan versus the United States, Shohei Ohtani pitching against his teammate, Mike Trout, striking him out for the final out. That was a moment where America really kind of got even more so than when America actually won the WBC, which sadly was against Puerto Rico. But I will point out that the winning pitcher that night for the United States was Marcus Stroman, whose mother is Puerto Rican.
Interesting. You go.
Yeah, no. I was just going to say. So obviously, we mentioned Team USA, the game on Fox. You just mentioned that you went to a game, and I think you said it was in San Juan. Where are these games being played, and is there an effort to make them more of an in-person thing like the World Cup as well?
Absolutely. So right now, Puerto Rico is once again hosting the WBC for the first time. It's been 2 tournaments since the last time Puerto Rico hosted. So there's a bracket going on in San Juan right now. The Dominican Republic and Nicaragua, in their bracket, they're playing in Miami. That, it's funny because the WBC is always the Miami Marlins ballpark being full for like a month. And it's like this almost like bizarro world universe of like, wow, look at how popping the stadium is, and it's actually filled up.
It was worth it to build.
Exactly. So their games taking place in Asia, over in Japan, Miami here in the States, Texas in the States, Puerto Rico. And that's always been the design of the WBC. Those opening rounds take place all over the world.
Do you think a lot of baseball fans will criticize the MLB All-Star Game, where it's not as it's not as competitive all the time? There is some issues with, players not playing, and it's kind of, I call it the All-Star Pro Bowl syndrome. Again, it's kind of just across the sports, right? But do you see World Baseball Classic being something for fans that really allows them to see that kind of head-on-head matchups from different countries and really have that flair and that fire that the All-Star games are lacking now?
I don't. The funny thing about the All-Star Game is, you remember a few years ago, back when Bud Selig, former commissioner of Major League Baseball, decided to say, okay, well, whoever wins the All-Star Game, that league, American or national,
right,
they get home field advantage in the World Series. And the point of that was to kind of spruce up the game a little bit. Obviously, All-Star Games, historically, especially over the last decade, haven't been the most exciting exhibitions of sports. And, some cases rightfully so. This is a time where the players are supposed to be getting a break. But if you're looking for some of the most exciting baseball outside of playoff baseball and the World Series, there's nothing better than the World Baseball Classic. And I think the opening games in Japan and also here in the States and over in Latin America have shown that.
David, is this also a showcase for some of these international players in front of American scouts as well? Does this ever lead to more opportunities for them in the major leagues or in the Japanese baseball leagues, where obviously those are two of the major professional sources of baseball?
It absolutely does, because even though it's exhibition baseball, it's very competitive baseball, and a lot of times it gives younger players or even veteran players towards the end of their careers a chance to show what they can do against some of the best Major League Baseball talent in the world. And there have been many cases where players have been able to extend their careers in the major leagues because of a good showing in the World Baseball Classic.
And when looking at the structure of the game, right, of course, in regular season baseball, you have 3-game series and a 4-game series. You have playoffs that are more same type of structure. With this, it's pools. It's a round robin in some ways. It's very much like an Olympics. How does that change the calculus of how players play the game, how teams set up their strategy in playing and trying to beat opponents versus the regular 2 to 4 game series that you see throughout the leagues from the U.S. to Puerto Rico and Japan?
There, in the WBC, there's a lot of math that goes on, because let's say, and there have been brawls that have happened because of this. Let's say you're a team and you're up 5-0 in the 9th inning. Normally, you would put on the brakes and not try and score anymore. But in the WBC, to get out of that round robin, that initial round, one of the tiebreakers is how many runs do you score. So you're actually there's an incentive to score as many runs as possible. If you're up 10-0 in the 8th, you might see a team try and get 2 more runs in the bottom of the 9th, because scoring runs is so important. It's a different dynamic when you factor in the tiebreakers of the round robin.
So what's really on the line here? Is it purely bragging rights? Is it purely the ability to look at your teammate and say, today we saw Ozzie Albies and Ronald Acuna Jr., going head to head, even though they both play for the Braves. So what's really at stake here in all of this?
One thing I can say, it's been really nice to see Team USA really take this seriously. Now, obviously, they have won a WBC. They won in 2017. But right now, the champion of this thing is Japan. They're a 3-time champion of the WBC. And I think it's really more than bragging rights. It's about who has the best baseball players in the world. Right now, if you're basing it off the WBC, you'd have to say Japan. I think Latin America would like to be a part of that conversation. You have teams like the Dominican Republic, who were the first team to ever go undefeated and win the WBC. You have teams like Puerto Rico, who have come in second twice and gotten that silver medal, and are oh so close to winning it all. There's a lot of bragging rights on the line, but I think when you talk about the WBC and what it means, I really think you have to. It's growing with the American players, but this game means so much to the international players. As someone who's been watching this from its inception, who's actually watched these games from Latin America, I can tell you internationally this is a very big deal.
And speaking of that personal experience, you talk about how much it meant to you as a fan and, of course, to the players. What does the WBC mean for the local communities, whether it be in Puerto Rico or Japan or Dominican Republic, when the games come there and players are getting engaged? And what's the response from fans, from locals, from businesses when the WBC is there?
I can tell you from experience, it's front page news. I fondly remember being in San Juan in 2009, attending the opening round of the World Baseball Classic at Hiron Bithorn Stadium. And, you'd attend the game, and then you go home and watch the news, and the lead story on the news is the game. You pick up the newspapers, the front page, it's the game. And then you're calling back to the United States, and they're barely showing a clip of it on SportsCenter. Obviously, that's not the case now. I'm talking about back in 2009 when the Classic was just getting started. But it's really changed a lot in terms of how much people care about this.
Wow.
All right. Well, David, I don't want to keep you much longer from your watch party. I want to let you get back to it.
My team won. I'm good. I'm good. I can,
all right.
But
when I have you here, I always have to geek out just a little bit. The Lanterns trailer just dropped this week. I need your initial thoughts on it. Are we excited for this or no?
I'm very excited. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan. I'm a huge fan of the Jeff Johns run that deals with all the colors of the spectrum and all that. There's been a lot of complaining about this trailer, that it's too True Detective, that it's too grounded. I love my fellow fanboys, but we got to calm down a little bit. They're not going to show you everything in a teaser trailer. I think the cast looks fantastic. I think Mr. Friday Night Lights looks great as Hal Jordan. I think Aaron Pierre, I wasn't sure about him as Jon Stewart, but he's convinced me in that little bit I've seen in the trailer. I think Lanterns is going to be fantastic.
All right.
If I with one more question about like this overall game, right, and all the games together, what do you think is going to be the one intangible that the winning team is going to need to get through this entire bracket and win it all?
I think it's nerves. Just watching the beginning of the Dominican Republic Nicaragua game, I have a buddy here who's at the party who's a Philadelphia Phillies fan. The Dominican pitcher is a starter for the Philadelphia Phillies, and he said that guy normally has nerves of steel, and he looks so out of character. And it's because he was pitching in Miami in front of 50,000 people, and about 40,000 of them were Dominican. And you've got your flag on your chest, and it makes a big difference. I don't think people understand what it means to wear your flag not only on your hat but on your heart.
Love that.
All right. When can people expect another Blurs in the Attic episode dropping, David?
We're coming soon. We're actually working on having our first guest on. I won't say who it is, but it's somebody pretty big in the world of Hollywood and comics. You can blame Cheo. He's a Hollywood writer. He's always writing something. I'm always ready to go.
All right.
I love it. Can't wait to watch and listen.
All right. Well, we
That's
appreciate you spending some time with us here tonight. Go enjoy the rest of the game, and we'll catch up
enjoy
soon.
the party. I'm very
All right,
jealous.
thank you guys. Take care.
All right, we're going to take another quick break. You can tune into Team USA over on Fox 5 if you want to. But hang out with us in the meantime, though, because when we come back from this break, Tony P is going to talk about some of the other stories he's been keeping an eye on this Friday night. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Friday evening.
Yes. Not Friday Eve anymore. It is the evening of Friday.
It is the evening of Friday, and
Remember
it is
that?
the weekend.
Yes.
We're so close we can taste it. Tony P.
Everybody's
Working for the
yes.
weekend.
And
yes.
what was that song Rebecca Black music ago? It's Friday,
It's
Friday. That was 2000.
Down on Friday.
That may have been an
That is Mike Thomas's favorite song of
It
all
is-
time,
it
and you
is
should
not.
definitely ask him about it sometime.
Oh, I can imagine that he will not be smiling by the time I finish singing that song. to him.
He loves it so much.
I
You
have a
should-
hard
You should
time
sing it at
believing-
him
Yes.
and consistently, and do it every Friday night.
You know, also the bridge down the street, I can sell that to you too if you want. You know.
Tony P,
pretty
what else?
good price on
What
it.
have you been keeping an eye on?
Well, we're
on this
going to
Friday
start,
night?
of course, right here in D.C. The Trump administration's embattled FDA vaccine chief is leaving the agency for the second time. FDA Commissioner Marty McCurry told staff that Dr. Vinay Prasad will depart at the end of April and return to his academic post at the University of California, San Francisco. Prasad oversees the FDA Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research, the division responsible for vaccines, gene therapies, and blood-related products. His tenure drew criticism from some public health experts over decisions related to vaccine approvals and regulatory oversight, as well as his department marks another leadership shakeup at the agency during a period when regulators are reviewing updated COVID-19 vaccines and other major immunization policies. In Chicago, thousands gathered today for the public memorial service for civil rights icon and leader Reverend Jesse Jackson at the House of Hope Church on the city's south side. Former Presidents Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, and Joe Biden attended, along with former Vice President Kamala Harris and former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton. Speakers highlighted Jackson's decades of activism, including founding Operation Push and the Rainbow Coalition and running historic presidential campaigns in 1984 and 1988 that helped expand black political representation and voter mobilization nationwide. He will be absolutely missed. It was just a beautiful service today. I got to watch a little bit of it on live stream. A truly remarkable service for a remarkable man. And now we kind of come back here to D.C. at the Kennedy Center, where leadership turmoil is continuing as Gene Davidson, the executive director of the National Symphony Orchestra, stepped down today to become the executive director and chief executive of Wallace Allenberg Center for the Performing Arts in Los Angeles. Davidson had overseen artistic planning and operations for the orchestra since 2024, and her departure represents another high-profile leadership change at the Kennedy Center during a period of broader restructuring and scrutiny over its governance and artistic direction. At the White House, President Trump today hosted a Saving College Sports Roundtable and urged Congress to create national rules governing college athletics. The meeting included commissioners from the Power Four conferences, athletic directors, former coaches like Nick Saban, and sports executives. Trump said he is considering a potential executive order that would establish federal guidelines around athlete compensation and NIL payments while also protecting smaller athletic programs that rely on football and basketball revenue. The proposal would aim to standardize transfer rules, regulate booster-funded NIL deals, and prevent what Trump called an uncontrolled pay-for-play system that could threaten the financial stability of many college athletic departments around the country. NASA also provided today an update on an asteroid that has drawn attention and did draw attention earlier this year. Scientists confirmed asteroid 2024 Year 4 now has zero chance of striking the moon in December 2032. Earlier calculations suggested a roughly 4% chance, that's pretty large for lunar items, of a lunar impact. But new observations from the James Webb Space Telescope refined its trajectory and showed the asteroid will safely pass the moon by about 13,000 miles. That's basically a near miss. Think about how wide that is in space terms. On the economic front, the February jobs report came out today and showed the labor market may be slowing. The U.S. economy lost 92,000 jobs during the month after January's gain was revised down to 126,000 total. The unemployment rate held at 4.4%, where healthcare employment dropped by about 28,000 positions, largely due to strike activity. Federal and government employment fell by roughly 10,000 jobs, and the information sector lost about 11,000 jobs, respectively. Despite the weaker hiring numbers, average hourly earnings still rose 0.4% though for the month, and 3.8% compared to a year earlier. In energy and technology news, Bill Gates' backed company TerraPower cleared a major milestone today after the Nuclear Regulatory Commission approved construction of its Natrium nuclear reactor project in Wyoming. The advanced reactor is designed is expected to generate about 345 megawatts of electricity and includes molten salt energy storage that could temporarily boost output for roughly 500 megawatts during peak demand. The project is expected to be completed around 2030 and is part of a broader push to expand next-generation nuclear power in the United States. I'm excited about that because I think nuclear power is going to be a big reason to help us with the environment. In entertainment and sports news, singer Tate McRae and NHL star Jack Hughes are reportedly officially dating now. Sources say the two began seeing each other late last year, recently made their relationship exclusive. McRae reportedly attended several of Hughes' games with the New Jersey Devils, and the pair have been spotted multiple times spending time together in New York. The BBC is also facing increased scrutiny over the BAFTA Awards broadcast controversy. Director General Tim Davie told a UK parliamentary committee today that the network profoundly regrets airing a racial slur during the delayed broadcast while actors Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were on stage presenting an award. Davies said the incident was the result of a broadcast editing error and that production staff mistakenly believed they had removed the corrected section before the show aired and remained available on the BBC's iPlayer platform overnight. So, according to them, it was a mistake that they made in editing. And the business world, and this is tied to the royal family's media ventures, or the royal family adjacent now, Netflix has exited as an investor in Meghan Markle's lifestyle brand As Ever. The brand focuses on home goods and lifestyle products, including candles and decor, and will now move forward without the streaming company's financial backing. The decision does not affect, though, Meghan and Prince Harry's broader content partnership with Netflix, which still includes documentary and production projects under the Archwell banner. So, I think about this. I keep coming back to the Delroy Lindo, Michael B. Jordan situation with the BAFTA Awards. When you think about this, I mean, there's no excuse. I know they said, oh, it was an issue. We thought we took it out. The fact that you can't see that as an editing team for a horrible incident like that is so racist, that is so vile, and having to put these actors basically on the spot with it on live TV is just absolutely unacceptable. And I think when looking at Delroy Lindo, there was a great interview that he did with NPR this week where originally he didn't talk about it, but the interviewer did a really good job of bringing it back to the personal side of it. And he mentioned that Michael B. Jordan and him had a job to do. They wanted to read the prompter, and they had to kind of react really quickly. But it was very difficult to do that all at once, and he had to do that job of reading the teleprompter and presenting the award, but having that awful just occasion happen, and that just racist incident happening to two incredible actors, and that's why I'm just so happy that they're getting just great press from the actor awards, and I think both of them have a good chance of winning Oscars this year as well. And that would just be an incredible vindication for both of them after going through just a horribly racist incident. I don't understand how you can't edit that out. Like how you let that happen. I don't know why I'm on my soapbox here, Chris, but being in the broadcast space now, like you gotta make sure those things are edited out. Just crazy.
Yeah, no question. Just heads up for sports fans out there. Sorry, I was keeping an eye on the AP wires because we just got some breaking news. The Baltimore Ravens have agreed to acquire pass rusher Max Crosby from the Las Vegas Raiders in exchange for 2 first-round picks.
2 first round? That's crazy.
A big defensive addition for the Baltimore Ravens. Max Crosby from the Las Vegas Raiders.
The Patriots
were
on
his way up 95 to the Baltimore Ravens. We're going to take another quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the new options to stream this weekend, including a new episode of the Monsterverse hit Monarch. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Live Zone Primetime on this Friday night. Tony P, on Fridays is usually when I put together my list of new streaming options.
What is Chris watching?
What Chris is currently watching, a little behind the scenes, is a show called The Madison, which will not premiere until later this month on Paramount. But it stars Michelle Pfeiffer, it stars Kurt Russell, and it stars Matthew Fox from Lost fame. And this is in
Oh,
the Taylor
yeah.
Sheridan
We Are Marshall,
universe. Yeah, that's right.
What was that movie?
We Are Marshall.
Vantage Point with Dennis Quaid when he plays the corrupt Secret Service agent Matthew Fox, right?
I haven't seen that one.
It's actually a really good movie.
Well, anyway, that's what I am currently watching because I'm going to interview some of the cast members from that on Monday. So I'm trying to get caught
No
up
way.
on the show. I'm watching it before
Right.
it even comes out so that I can talk to them
Exactly.
all about it. But that's what I'm currently watching. But I wanted to share some options for you to
Right.
watch this weekend
write these
and
down. Hold on.
beyond.
Let me get my
I'll be
notepad.
honest with you, Tony P. This has been kind of a stacked year so
What
far.
to watch?
So, we're starting off with a show called American Classic. This
Okay.
follows an actor after a public breakdown. The Broadway star finds himself back in his hometown. The family theater he once left behind, he tries to save the town, the theater, and his own pride by staging a great American classic on a dinner stage budget.
Wow.
Listen to the cast on this one. Kevin Kline, Laura Linney, John Tenney, Tony Shalhoub, and Aaron Tveit, which I don't know if I'm pronouncing his last name correctly. But if you ever saw Grease Live right here on Fox, Aaron played Danny Zuko. So he's got a lot of Broadway
I like that. I
credentials
like that.
himself. That one's streaming on MGM Plus. We've also got DTF
I've
St.
been
Louis.
waiting for this one.
Now, I don't know if you know what DTF stands for, but I can't say it on broadcast TV.
We can say it here.
On linear, we probably can. Sex, Secrets, and Murder. That's what this one's about. Tells the story of two middle-aged dads whose lives go off the rails thanks to a sketchy hookup app. Art imitating life, it seems like, for one of the stars.
Oh.
Stars Jason Bateman, David Harbour, and Linda Cardellini, streaming now on HBO Max. Now, I'm teasing, but David Harbour's personal life has made a lot of headlines lately, thanks to his ex kind of putting him on blast.
Yeah.
Some of his alleged extracurriculars. Let's just
You know what's
put it
funny, Chris?
that way.
I watched their Architectural Digest video, David Harbour and his former partner, and they were
Lily
so
Allen.
happy. Yeah, they were so happy doing that. And then,
Yeah.
like, imagine like where they are now. It's like, whoa.
Didn't
okay.
go well if you saw
No.
the dress that she wore recently. Next up, we've got Young Sherlock. It tells the story of the legendary detective's origins in 1870s Oxford. What's interesting about this is, remember those movies with Robert Downey Jr. and Jude Law?
Yes.
The Sherlock Holmes ones? Guy Ritchie created and directed those. Guy Ritchie created this. It's inspired.
okay.
Same universe. Stars Hero Fine Tiffin as the great detective. That one's streaming now on Prime Video. Next up, right up Tony P's alley, because
Yes.
it hails from his neck of the woods. We're talking
Aha.
about Ted Season 2. This is a prequel to the hit movies. Follows a teenage John. Remember, John was played by Mark Wahlberg in the movies. And his talking teddy bear as they navigate high school in Massachusetts. It stars Max Burkholder and Seth MacFarlane. Seth
Of course.
MacFarlane, creator of Family Guy. He's the voice of the foul-mouthed bear. That one's streaming now on Peacock. Netflix has Vladimir. This is based on a novel of the same name.
Okay.
Tells the story of a middle-aged literature professor obsessed with her younger colleague, throws her complicated marriage and teaching career into total chaos. You see the stars right there, Rachel Weisz and White Lotus breakout Leo Woodall. He was also in a Netflix series called One Day. Also, John Slattery. I know you're a Mad Men fan.
Yes.
Got John Slattery as well. Streaming
He adds
now
a whole level
on Netflix.
to a show. He's really good, really intense.
He is great. Netflix also has War Machine. This is
Okay.
Alan Ritchson from Reacher, as well as Dennis Quaid, who you just mentioned. One last grueling mission during Army Ranger training. A combat engineer must lead his unit in a fight against a giant otherworldly killing machine. It's gotten good reviews,
Aliens?
actually. Yeah, streaming
Nice.
now on Netflix as well. All right. If you're more into the erotic dramas, Outlander.
I know I am.
Outlander Season 8. This is a time-traveling romance if you're a fan. This is the final season. Streaming now on Starz. This weekend, HBO Max has Rooster. This tells the story of an author who heads to a college campus to help his daughter, and who's also a professor, after her husband leaves her for a grad student. Then he gets swept up in campus politics, the everyday lives of the students at the school. What's interesting about this one, stars Steve Carell, who we know and love from The Office, and so much more. But behind the scenes, this is created by Bill Lawrence, who also did Ted Lasso and Shrinking and Scrubs. Also stars Phil Dunster, who you know from Ted Lasso as well. He was Jamie Tart. This one's streaming Sunday on HBO Max, so you got to wait for that one. Also streaming on Sunday for all the Harry Styles fans out there, We've got Harry Styles one night in Manchester. If you can't afford his residency at Madison Square Gardens, or you can't afford to fly around the world to go see him, this is your chance. Netflix is going to stream the first live performance of his new album, which dropped today. It's called Kiss All the Time, Disco Occasionally. I've listened to the first 4 tracks. I enjoy it so far.
Pretty good?
He recorded it today, but it will air Sunday on Netflix.
That's the
Tony
future,
P.
these live or live adjacent concerts. They're the absolute future. This Rooster one I find interesting, Chris.
I agree.
It kind of reminds me, it's the old movie Back to School with Rodney Dangerfield, a little bit of that.
A little bit, yeah.
Mix in like this kind of crazy, stupid love element.
Possibly as well, which was a classic.
So definitely some.
I also just saw
good motifs there.
Saw an interview with Steve Carell where he admitted he hated the title of Crazy Stupid Love.
He did?
He did, yeah.
I think it worked for that given movie.
I agree.
Just the vibe made sense. And also, what's the other one that I liked? Hold on. Well, DTF I think is going to be a riot. Also, St. Louis sounds like an interesting just city overall. And then, of course.
Tony P, my list isn't over yet because
what is
we've
it?
also got a new
sorry.
episode of Monarch out now.
To destroy a monster takes another monster. We need Kong and Godzilla.
What if they make the situation worse? You're trying to play God. No man should play God.
So that was part of the trailer for season 2 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters. Another new episode just dropped today. First though, before the new season even premiered, I got a chance to chat with the stars, including Kurt and Wyatt Russell and Montgomery County's own Joe Tippett, who you may know is also married to Sarah Bareilles. Check it out.
Do you hear that?
This is not Kong. And it's not Godzilla. This is something bigger.
Get ready for a return to the Monsterverse.
I did it. I pressed the button. I let the genie out of the bottle.
Season 2 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters drops this week, and it's gonna be action-packed.
Hundreds of thousands are in the path of this monster. And we don't know what it wants.
Father-son duo Kurt and Wyatt Russell share the role of Colonel Lee Shaw. And despite the fact that they play 2 different versions of the same character across 2 different timelines, they say it's a collaborative process.
It really is a collaborative process where we had to come together, you know, and make sure that it was just, we saw it the same way. I think that if it would have happened where it was like, I saw it totally different and he saw it totally different, then we wouldn't have done it, to be honest. So when we did talk about it, it was like, you see it like this? Yeah, you see it like this? Yeah. And then that felt like we were both like in cahoots on the character before we shot anything or even said yes. So that part was kind of dealt with before we even said yes.
We continued to talk about some ideas that we wanted to approach and did that. Yeah, we see what we want to do pretty much the same.
Season 1 of the hit show followed the Randa siblings, looking to uncover their family's mysterious connection to Monarch, the secretive organization monitoring titans like Godzilla and King Kong.
I'm gonna find a way to set things right. I promise.
Season 2 picks up where Season 1 left off, with the fate of Monarch and the world hanging in the balance. But the past and present collide, blurring the bonds between family, friend, and foe.
Kentaro is carving his own path this season. He's more in tune with himself and what he feels is the right thing to do for him. And he's become increasingly independent in that way.
May has to decide sort of, or is always considering her safety and saving herself, but then also saving literally the world. They're all considering this. I don't think about saving the world. I know that I don't have, why would I think that I can do that as much as I would love to? I think about, as an actor and as an artist, helping other people to save themselves or whatever that looks like and what that, means. And I think that, I don't know, I think that May doesn't, her value, you knew her values last season. In the second season, she doesn't necessarily know what makes a good person.
I think the monsters are, amazing and very interesting to watch, but also at its core, there's a very human story. And we see all these different relationships. And I think that's where people can relate to, because we don't see monsters in our lives, but we do have relationships that are really complicated.
To destroy a monster takes another monster.
Co-stars Joe Tippett and Mari Yamamoto say they see some parallels between the show and real life.
It's a funny thing when people talk about like government as if it's this like big like blob, but it's just made up of people, right? Like, and I think it's like Hanlon's razor or whatever. Like, don't attribute malice to what could just be chalked up to like human incompetence. And I think in the case of Monarch, say like it's just it's a beautiful idea that started, but that just grew into this big thing, and it's a lot of money, and like the message gets lost in the like tech and all that stuff. And I think Tim is somebody who's like, no, we're going the wrong way. We need to get back to like the study of these things rather than just all this surveillance and stuff like that. And I think what's fantastic for him is like Keiko coming from the past, and he's like, this is the way we can follow her. That there is now hope that we can return. I don't want to say make Monarch great again, but like, you teed it up, man.
I wanted to kind of focus on the subtitle of the show, The Legacy of Monsters. I sort of went into the show a little naively, also assuming the monsters were Godzilla, King Kong, the Titans, but it can also really speak to humankind. And these characters have always kind of existed as allegories for mankind. So do you see this show kind of carrying on that tradition? And what message do you hope fans take away from it? Joe, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're right on the nose. What I think the show does really well is that there is not a clear answer to how to respond to existential threats. There are competing ideas, and hopefully you want the audience like arguing with each other. Like, no, I mean, like season 1, Kurt is trying to close all these rifts, but it's like he doesn't know that by doing that they could all explode. But it's like that's a perfectly reasonable response. And so I think what's great is that even our characters can bounce back and forth between ideas, because at any given moment, this side's making a better argument. But yeah, I think I really appreciate the intellect behind that.
Yeah, like adding on to that, like our producer Tori Tonell, she often says like, what's this thing she says? Do you remember? Like, is the monster? She says
hi Joe to me or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. But like, is the monster the person sitting next to you, or the ones you see, right? And I think that's really interesting, because depending on like whatever side you're on, like you said, like people can paint you up to be a monster, or circumstances can push you to the point of acting in a way that you didn't even expect yourself to be. And these monsters are sort of symbolic of that.
The whole idea of the show is focusing on the human parts so that you could relate to the monsters and relate to the allegories, more so than having them either be totally put in your face in a way that you're being spoon-fed them, or in a way that you just don't get it as much because you got to spend 20 minutes of Kong fighting Godzilla, which is cool. But for the television show, you'd like to get into more of like the depth of character, and that was what was fun to do.
So just a reminder, the first 2 episodes of season 2 of Monarch Legacy of Monsters are out now on Apple TV. And Tony P, like you said, compared to the movies where it is a lot of special effects and it is a lot of just like monsters fighting each other.
Exactly.
This show is much more focused on the human aspect and really gets into kind of that nitty-gritty of these like government organizations.
The decision making.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, but it's all like, it goes back to why people love behind the scenes content. It's because you get to see the mechanics of how decisions are made and what the impacts are, and then also how do these characters deliberate with it. How do they handle the emotional impact? And I think that's the great thing about TV and doing series, and that's why The Sopranos was a great series, is it went underneath the hood of like a Goodfellas or Casino, went underneath the hood
and
day to day, and that works so well.
I love when they take these like big blockbuster movies and then make shows out of them.
Yes.
Kind of, not to, Marvel kind of did the same thing where they took the Avengers and then they made a TV show out of the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which was the organization that worked similar to Monarch, and
Exactly.
similar issues with whether they were good or not so
Well, that's
good.
I mean,
which
art
really,
imitates life, right?
Yeah,
And art
no question
informs
about
life, and it makes a point. It really, an old teacher of mine used to say, "Did I disturb you into thinking enough?" And I think that's, what art should do. Good art disturbs you into thinking.
Exactly. All right, Tony P. Well, we made it.
I have one
We
quick
made
thing
it.
I want to talk about too. Did you see the whole Timothy Chalamet's comment on ballet?
I did,
and
yeah.
art?
I was gonna
Did you
talk
see
about that in the 7:30 today. He's gonna talk himself right out of
Thank
an
you,
Oscar.
thank you.
If
And-
he's not careful, a lot
Exactly.
of opera and ballet
Opera and ballet, that's what it
performers
was, yeah.
have taken issue. I would encourage
So would
people
I.
before you make a snap judgment to listen to his whole what he was saying. Don't just take the pull quote. Listen to what he said before and listen to what he said afterwards.
But don't even go there.
He was trying to make a point.
Stay
I understand the point he
down the
was
middle.
trying to make. He's not the only one, though. Yeah. Anyway, happy Friday. Fox 5 News at 10 next, right here on Fox Local. Have a good night. Weekend.
Right.